Hello, Jonathan Bowman-Perks here, and welcome to my favourite time of the week where I get to share some wisdom and experience that others have passed on to me, things I've read and learnt, but more the practical mistakes that I've made. And this week I want to talk about cyberbullies, trolls and critics, because of course I sometimes get things wrong and quite frequently I can get criticised. In this particular occasion, it was an old army contact of mine who reached out many years later and decided to criticize me about these videos that I'm doing. Perhaps he was trying to help, I'm not quite sure, but it was pretty vicious and it was pretty blunt and not particularly constructive, just really quite destructive. I'm sure he had his reasons. However, I find that criticism, someone once said to me, it's like a basketball. If someone throws a basketball at you and you have your arms out and you don't catch it, it will wind you and you will cough and splutter and be a bit of a mess. But if you catch the basketball and you can hold it out there and you examine it, you say, thank you for your feedback, let me think about that. Because it should be examined. Everything that you get, we do make mistakes. We need to learn from them. And I, more than anybody, have made more than my fair share of mistakes and will probably continue to do so. But I certainly, as someone once said, you either succeed or you learn. And clearly from the feedback I got from him, I learnt. But however, I must be honest, I didn't find it easy and I didn't like the tone and the language and the destructive way that he'd written this long and rather vitriolic email. But I'm reminded of Oscar Wilde, who said, if you don't want to be criticised, do nothing, be nothing, say nothing. So if you're going to, any of you, do jobs in the public line of work, and many of my clients that I work with are in very high profile roles, or indeed you want to be in a more prestigious role, you're going to have to be prepared to be criticised. And I love the particular quote by President Roosevelt in 1910 at the Sorbonne. And he said these famous lines: it's not the critic who counts. It's not the one who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without shortcomings, but who does actually strive to do the deed, who knows the great enthusiasms and the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who knows that at worst, if he fails, at least he fails whilst daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. I'll say that again. Who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. I love that. I'm also reminded, while we're on the theme of America, in Maryland they love their crabs, and when they fish and collect the crabs, they collect them in a barrel, a large wooden barrel, and they leave the top off. It's got the curved sides, the old traditional whiskey barrels, and they put all the crabs in there. And so people might wonder, why no lid on it? Because surely the crabs will crawl up and they'll escape. But the very interesting phenomena is that none of the crabs do. That's because as one of the crabs striving up to get out, get on in life, the others pull them down. So don't be like a crab in the barrel, the one who's pulling others down to stop them looking good and getting on, which is often what critics do. They're jealous, or they don't like you achieving something, and they think that by pulling you down they'll lift themselves up. But it doesn't work that way. It's not like a seesaw in life. It just demeans them as much as it demeans and rips you apart. And you don't perform better when you're criticised. You need appreciation. Yes, by all means, point out what you could do even better, but don't just tear people apart. Give them some hope of what they can do better. Give them encouragement. Give them suggestions. So don't be a critic, a cynic, or a judge. Instead, show courage, have humility, and have discipline to do things better. I encourage you to have judgment, good judgment, but don't be judgmental of other people because you think you're better than them and you look down upon them. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, who I love some of his stoical comments, he has this lovely quote. He said, "Why should I care about the opinions of someone who doesn't even like himself?" So again, why should I care about the opinions of someone else who doesn't even like himself? So, instead of being a critic, a cynic, or a judge, focus instead on PQ, on the compass, the Inspiring Leadership Compass, your sense of meaning and purpose, why you do what you do. Have a worthy cause, as Roosevelt was saying. Strive valiantly for that worthy cause to make a difference to others. Also MQ, your values, your moral quotient. Have a clear sense of what you will do and what you won't do. And again, Oscar Wilde was one who said, a gentleman or a lady is someone who knows what they will do and what they won't do. And finally, LQ, legacy. Leave a legacy. Leave things better than you found them. So, that's my thought for the day. When you're coping with cyber bullies, with trolls and with critics, by all means, learn from your mistakes. Don't be too arrogant, but either you succeed or you learn. That's the thought for the day. Good luck, go out and try it, and be someone who has courage, humility, and discipline, not to be someone who is a critic, a cynic, or a judge.